Oh, wow.
It's a good song.
Lovely song, isn't it?
Well, it's springtime
What about this
in
version,
Normandy on the Rock Road.
Classic.
It's very good.
It's the Dotem and the Hoosiers of the game. Who'll be buried in the sunflower garden on Friday afternoon? Who'll walk that 18th fairway singing this tune?
Doug, your mic's not on. Damn it, Darren.
Hello, London. Mayday. Come in, London. Hey, you got anything?
I can't quite tell if that even works.
I steal your seat?
No.
No.
You got Iggy's seat. Iggy is not in the studio, but Riggs is in the studio. Welcome back to the Ryan Kelly Morning After, and welcome to Riggs here in studio for the night again. Brian's been.
Wow, I get a clap. That's very nice. A golf clap. Appreciate that. Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
It's so kind of you to come in studio. I mean, just even calling it, I would have appreciated, but you came into the studio.
Yeah, why not? 15-minute drive. Fridays are easy for me, so I figured I'd hop in and come on in. Let's go.
It is great to have you on. Now, Iggy, of course, is not in. Doug, sometimes he's late for when we return.
If he's not going to be here, I guess I'll take my old seat back.
Yeah, he's going to come in and then it's going
Get
to
comfy, you know?
He's too busy to get back on time after the breaks.
Yeah, what's he doing?
He smokes in Salem 100.
darts out there.
Gotcha. Okay. Tough habit.
Yeah, it is tough to break.
Break that one
But are you, before he comes back, are you aware of the backstory of him chirping you on the Twitter tweets?
I know nothing.
Okay.
I can't.
That's what I would have bet on.
I can't tell you how little I know. I saw just a few tweets from yesterday, maybe when you guys were kind of talking about me coming on, where people were like, "Can't wait for Iggy, for Iggy," and I was like, "Okay, sure." I don't really know what that means. So I imagine we'll
Jackson, did you get video of it? The meeting?
I did. A historic
Trying
introduction.
to dap you up. Riggs was a little more, standoffish. You just met the man.
I was going handshakes. I felt like that's usually the safe kind of. I was going just firm, solid
meeting,
handshake.
He went in.
He tried to hug you?
A little bit. I mean, I saw
really?
you can judge. I assume it's on Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Strode is back in studio. He's about to complain about Doug being in his chair. Now, Iggy, you stay on camera.
Don't come in here with an attitude when you're 5 minutes late. Where do you need me to go? I'll sit here.
Doug will go over there.
Oh, he's nervous, Tim.
What a whole machine here, Riggs.
I can tell. It's nice. Reminds me of what we do. It's great.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Hey,
same audience size.
Kind of grind through it. This is what you guys do. I like it. 3 hours you guys do this?
We do 3 hours of this, and then
what
I
do
go
you guys
down
talk about?
and I do it nothing, absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Truly, and we've been doing it for 18 years. How many years did you spend in St. Louis? Because you weren't like a lifelong St. Louisan, were you?
I moved away from St. Louis when I was like a sophomore, basically, in high school. Ended up going to sort of a boarding prep school in Connecticut. I really wanted to play hockey and try to get recruited to a good school. So I moved away, in my mid-teens, I guess. I was, 15, 16. And then I did a year of juniors for the St. Louis Bandits for John Cooper.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, in Chesterfield. So Coop and I are still pretty tight.
They won the whole thing one year, didn't they?
Yeah, we won it. My year, we won it. I think they won it like 3 years in a row. Coop has a crazy story where he was.
I know.
He was going to get his. He was going to be a lawyer, get his law degree, and then ended up becoming a coach at like Honey Baked Ham or something up in the Detroit area, and then Texarkana Bandits. Then they moved to St. Louis, and he was the head coach for the St. Louis Bandits for 2 or 3 years, won like 2 or 3 national championships, went to the USHL, turned that team around immediately, then got the assistant coach or the head coach gig in the AHL, and they went on like a 20 or 30 game winning streak, which is like the longest winning streak in professional sports. And then when they relieved the head coach at Tampa, they put him in as the interim, and now he's won back-to-back Stanley Cups and might win a third. So it's pretty crazy. He can barely skate. I love Coop to death. He's just a player's coach through and through.
Oh, that's awesome.
So people want to run through a wall for that guy. So yeah, I did out in Chesterfield. Before that was a Topgolf. I played for the St. Louis Bandits out there.
And so, but then you went to Harvard.
So I played hockey there. Yep.
The guy played hockey at Harvard.
Harvard's overrated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Did you ever look at Merrimack when you were here?
I got nothing against Merrimack. That's great.
Doug played baseball.
Okay. Now with what I do, I'm surrounded by people that either, you go to Harvard, you could have not gone to college, you could be a security guard. It doesn't really matter. What
were you interested? What were you majoring in Harvard? What were you wanting to do?
Sociology was the easiest thing to get through.
Because they were playing hockey.
Yeah, it was originally I was like, I'm gonna go economics and I'm gonna be then I just a couple weeks in was like, no way. So sociology was easy. I could always write pretty well. I learned how to write I had a really good teacher my sophomore year in high school who taught me how to write, so I just always thought I could BS my way through a paper, even if I had no idea what was going on.
You've moved from New York to Scottsdale recently. Compare the scene in Scottsdale to what the scene was like in Cambridge in your Harvard experience.
Wildly different. Scottsdale's incredible. I moved there, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I didn't really know much about it, to be honest with you, and it was late 2020, COVID. I had been in New York for 4 years. New York was obviously not back yet. People were moving out of the city, and I had to figure out where to go. I had a couple really good friends in Scottsdale that were like, it's magical in the winter. You'd love it.
Oh, yeah.
So I just did a winter lease, moved down there, and was like, wow. And so, I've been there pretty much ever since. We're on East Coast time, too, with our, work schedule. I say that with air quotes because people don't think I have a real job. Right. But, we're done by, especially when we're 3 hours behind like we are now. I mean, my work for most days, meetings, podcast recording, all that's done by noon or 1, and you still got 6, 7, 8 hours of daylight. So it's
are you
great.
playing? Is that what do you play like on a?
When I'm home, I play a good amount of golf.
Yeah,
and then I'll go weeks where I don't really play much. It just kind of depends. But there's stretches, especially in the winter. Like we don't travel as much. I mean, we do the tournament series, Barstool Classic. We do 25 stops around the country. I go to every one of them and kind of host and make sure everything runs smoothly. So I'm on the road from March through September, pretty much nonstop. I think I did like 225 days in a hotel last year and over 90 flights. So it's like you're just on the road a lot. But in the winter, we kind of hunker down and play a ton of golf.
Iggy, I know you want to talk it over here with Riggs. The audience.
You got something up with me? I don't know anything about that. I know nothing about this.
I told you.
These two.
No, I told you that he has no clue any of this goes on.
We confirmed that while you were out smoking your garden.
Because he's got hundreds of thousands of followers. I only have a few thousand, and I don't follow what people say about me most of the time.
I don't mean that personally. I just don't know.
I know that.
I have no clue on any of the background.
I think I said that once. I said he has no clue who I am. I do it for fun, and I kind of troll people.
Okay.
Nothing mean-spirited about it. When the Kisner stuff first started.
Yep.
And then the Tiger Woods stuff. There was one video of Tiger saying hi to you guys, and it wasn't you. It was one of the other guys. Like turned to the camera, and was like giggling, like Tiger said hi to us, and I had fun with that. And I compare.
You have a problem with that?
Well,
they're going to scrap. It's going to be
I am
great.
old school, kind of like when Chip Nick and Jaime Diaz and these old school guys don't like what you do because they aren't like that.
Is that accurate, real quickly, by the way, Riggs? That
to a degree, I think it gets overblown a little bit that they don't like. I think that they're. Look, anyone, when you've worked really hard to do things a certain way and established yourself, and then something new comes along that very much
threatens what you've done.
And not only threatens it, but it's a little bit of an existential crisis for them because we do things completely differently and they can't necessarily comprehend it. Some have been really good at adapting, some haven't. Like Alan Shipnuck, for example, is one of the best golf writers, I think, out there. And he's done a really good job he's jumped in with Matt Janella, who's a good buddy of mine. They start the Fire Pit Collective, and they're doing kind of a blend of old school golf journalism and the new age, digitalization, I guess I would call it, of golf. Where they still are storytellers at heart and journalists, but they're doing it through podcasts and through quick hitter videos and things like that. Whereas others, Jeff Shackelford, for example, who's a fossil,
he's one of the guys, that kind of.
He's extremely combative to what we do, and we always say we don't fire the first shot, right? I mean, after the issue with. When Tiger made the putt, he beat Abe Answer 3-2. We were down at Royal Melbourne. We dapped up Tiger afterwards, gave him a fist pump. He was pumped. We were pumped. And Jeff Shackelford took a shot at us, called us like fanboys with credentials or whatever. So then we responded. But then he complains that we're weaponizing social media just because we have a bigger following than he does. He takes the first shot. We respond. It looks like, or he tries to complain that we're bullying, and then we ended up being like, come on.
But he fired the first shot, though.
Right. Like, we're out there just doing our thing. We don't claim to be journalists. We're not journalists. We understand that. We are massive fans of the game of golf. We love golf. And the fact that Tiger Woods, who was for 10 or 15 years probably the biggest celebrity on planet Earth, and is the reason that I'm as into golf as I am, a lot of the reason that JT and all these guys that you see coming out now play golf and got into golf, when he knows who we are and he gives us a little bit of love, of course we're going to be giddy about that. I mean, and a lot of our fans, followers, like they live vicariously through us.
Sure.
So when they see us, who just started a podcast, myself and Trent, 5 years ago, talking about God knows what and trying to get through golf topics, have made it, to a point where Tiger Woods at least is aware of what we do. They get as excited as we do, and they don't want to see us just be deadpan, like, oh, we're Mr. Journalist now, we're going to write in our notes. No, we're like, we're giddy and we're shaking and we're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I think that, again, that's a pretty natural reaction. And I think that for a lot of people that follow the game of golf, to be a curmudgeon-y, old school journalist that usually they start to hate the thing that they cover, I think it's refreshing for a lot of people that we are still just obsessed with golf.
What a wonderful answer, Iggy. What is your
It
response?
is, and somebody explained this to me, and I was honest. I said, look, I've never heard their podcast. And somebody explained it to me. He says they're just young guys that enjoy golf. They talk. They don't break down a. Now let's talk about that 3-putt. I mean, you had a 4. They don't break down golf. And then it made a little more sense to me. Like, these guys are just having fun. They got the younger audience, and if it's bringing people into the game of golf, fine. And then I just started trolling more. It wasn't. I never said one bad thing like you guys are idiots, they're morons, get off the air. I never said that. I just kind of, like when you were walking down the fairway with Tiger, and I said, yeah, they're walking with Wood, all right. Meaning you got a boner walking with Tiger.
That's probably
Great
true.
pun,
That's
great
probably true.
Yeah, and
You had a soft cow, you think? Southern Hills. Soft cows,
So-
Southern Hills.
So for
Just
people,
trying to do the old tuck under the belt.
so for people thought
Two
that it's mean spirited. Because I even said, this is way before we knew you were coming to studio. This is months ago. I said, if I met the guys, they're probably great guys. I probably get along with them. But the whole fanboy thing is just, now I'm just having fun with it. It really doesn't bother me at all. I'm not a journalist either. But I started way back in 30 years ago doing Fairways and Greens with Jay Randolph and Jeff Smith, and Tom O'Toole was a big part of it.
Yeah.
And there were like maybe 4 golf shows in the country. So we were doing all this, but we weren't, walking the fairways with Jack Nicklaus after dinner. It's totally different now, but I was in that mindset like, I never did that back in the days when we were doing golf. But you don't do that when people explain to me. You don't break down golf like we did. You're having fun with golf, so I get it.
Yeah, and look, I think, too, it's really difficult for some people who just see one clip of what we do
That's true.
to understand sort of the scope of it, because, we put out a podcast yesterday that was 90 minutes with Billy Horschel. We talked about live golf. We talked about his superstitions. We talked about him, overcoming, not believing that he could win on tour. And that's a much more in-depth conversation about golf. So, yeah, we might be walking up the fairway with Wood. Your pun, nice work. And like that clip goes out and it might get 2 million views, and people are like, wow, they're dabbing up Tiger. That's really cool, but it's pretty surface level. There's not a lot of complexity to it. And then if they're a big fan of the whole scope of what we do, no, we're not breaking down, why Tiger decided to hit a soft cut 7 instead of a full draw 8 iron. Like, that's not what we do. But we're open about the fact that that's not what we do. And we try to get, a little bit of a mix of everything. And we have 4 personalities on our show. I'm probably the biggest, golf nerdy one of all of them that likes to get into architecture and why Tiger chose that shot type. And we've got, a little bit of a mix. But, yeah, it's always pretty weird, I would say, for us trying to blend between, we're golf media. We have credentials and we go to major championships, but we're not journalists. So yeah, it's kind of a blurred line, I guess. But at the end of the day, we love golf, and we just try to cover it the best way that we possibly can. And if we mess up, we'll just put our hand up. Yeah, we're idiots. And the other thing I would say is the golf journalists that do walk the fairway with Tiger, they do that. They get giddy. They love having access journalists. They just don't post it, and they don't write. They try to write from a vantage point of being neutral, but I watch them walk up the fairway, and they're like, oh my God, Tiger's talking to me. And then they put it into they package it with like a quote and ESPN.com or whatever, but they're just as giddy as most of the other people that Tiger Woods knows who they are.
I'd say something about them, too, if I saw it. 2 things. One, I know when you start reading texts, you say, Iggy, backing down. Iggy. There's no backing down.
Yeah, there's about 100 of those.
Yeah,
texts.
I never.
Bend the knee,
You wanted
Iggy,
to
bend the
take a
knee.
swing at it.
No, I've never
Is
said
that what the people are saying?
I'm sure
Yeah,
they
it's
are.
in our text inbox.
Oh yeah, I got some.
you
texts
getting it
from
right now?
people,
You got
yeah.
it? The
This
old
guy is a
fossilized-
coward. He's totally backtracking on his years of his stance against
Here,
me.
what did you expect me to do? Have a fight? I told you it's not. It's
good
not
for you, too.
personal thing. I
Incredible.
said if I ever met Riggs or the other guys, they're probably nice guys. We'd have a great conversation.
Yeah, my friend Jeremy called you a coward.
That's all right. sorry, Jeremy.
I love that.
There's no,
Funny.
there's no ill will on my part. There's only a few people I really dislike.
So you guys I did the radio. I used to host 3 hours of radio for Sirius XM when we were on there. How do you guys get through that? What do you guys talk about?
Nothing.
We just BS, and I don't know how to explain it.
You got like a little rundown sheet? You guys have any,
No,
like,
absolutely not. It'd be awful. I wouldn't want to do it.
You guys have any like radio rivalries? You got any other?
No.
guys that
Did you guys ever get
with?
into that?
Not really.
Because at Barstool, and then you're talking about when you're on Barstool, or is this Sirius outside of Barstool?
Sirius XM. So we had for like 3 years. We had a contract with Sirius.
Barstool did.
Barstool Sports.
Okay, right.
Where
And
we
had that
did
channel.
for the first year. It was just like a 2-hour show, and that was like Portnoy and Kevin KFC. And that was sort of the hub of all of our drama within Barstool. You know, we're kind of a reality show or whatever. And then it expanded after, I think, a year and a half to 12 hours a day. From 7 to 7, we had to fill live radio. And so I started out hosting a show with Dave's dad, cousin Mike, as we called him, and then his cousin Murray, two, 70-year-old Jewish men, and then myself from St. Charles, Missouri, who's out there, And it was a very, very, very funny show. I mean, half the show was them trying to figure out how to, like, call into the show. And then the whole thing would be over. And then eventually I got the nod to host our Barstool Radio, kind of our flagship show from 4 to 6 p.m. So I would do the hour 9 to 10, and then I would do 4 to 6 with Dave. I was the star of neither of those shows. People were just tuning in to listen to Dave, but I kind of dished the football and all that. And yeah, I mean, there were, especially like summer Friday afternoons from 4 to 6, like Dave would just be like, I'm not doing radio, and so he wouldn't come in. I would find out at like 3:58. So then we would have 2 hours to kill and absolutely nothing to talk about. And I mean, we'd get through it, and sometimes those would be our best shows, and then sometimes we'd just be
brutal.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it'd be all of a sudden, it'd be the last break. You'd be like, wow, we got here, that was amazing. And other times you'd be like, we've been grinding. What time is it? And they're like, it's 4:08. Jesus.
But then my question is, how did it go from that to the Foreplay pod and what you have going on with golf? Where was that going on simultaneously?
Yeah, it was in its trajectory upward, but
did you pitch it or did somebody pitch it to you?
No, it was as simple as, I got hired in April 2016, and actually, ironically or weirdly enough, got hired to basically be the political kind of world news blogger.
I remember you talking about Brexit. I go, really?
Yeah, well, I having gone to Harvard, gone to college in Boston, like Barstool was part of the culture of Boston.
Sure.
Especially in college, because when you're in the library and you're trying to write a paper, like we would just send each other Portnoy blogs, and he was at that time. I mean, he had candy, snacks, a laptop, and he just blogged every 15 to 30 minutes. He published a new blog every day. And you would just read it. And again, this is the internet, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So he said some stuff, and we were like, I can't believe, did you hear his take on this or read his take on that? And so Barstool was pretty big. I was a fan. And then I worked a technology sales gig for a few years after school, living in the Boston area. And I just kept following Barstool. I was like, God, what they're doing is way cooler than what I'm doing. Eventually just got fed up, started my own blog, just literally Googled how to create a blog. Wrote over 1,000 blogs and probably emailed Dave 100, 200 times, something like that. And one day he responded and was like, all right, stop emailing me. I think your writing's really funny. What do you want to do? And this was, spring 2016. So Trump was becoming a thing. It was not as toxic as it is now. It was kind of funny. The debates were outrageous. People didn't really think it was going to be serious. And then obviously that ended up leading to the most shocking election result in history. And at the time, Dave was very anti-politics on Barstool because he was like, we don't want to alienate half the country. We're just here to make people laugh about mostly sports, but culture stuff. And I basically was like, you're missing an ocean of content. Here's proof that I can do it in a way that won't be, biased one way or the other. I'm just poking fun and the ridiculousness of politics, basically. And he was like, I love it. Hired me to do that. And then after a few months, I was like, I love golf. Is it cool if I write about golf too? And he's like, yeah, if it's good, we'll publish it. And then about after the election, me and Trent started doing test podcasts, golf, kind of looked at the space and was like, people don't really talk about golf like normal people. They usually talk about golf how Iggy wants to talk about golf. And so we started the podcast, got the green light in February 2016, and it just kind of grew from there. But it was pretty quickly like, oh, this is going to be this is going to drive revenue. This is going to be something we should focus on. And then we started, adding more people, getting bigger interviews, doing 2 shows a week, not one, coming out with video series, and just kind of growing it from there. So that's been 5 years now.
Wow. We're joined in studio by Riggs, Barstool, St. Louis area native, and has a huge thing going with the Foreplay pod. And now I get a chance to even big moment for you in your career to meet Ken Iggy Strode here. You guys can now talk it over.
Where's Iggy come from?
Iggy Pop.
Okay.
A musician back in high school. And
Okay.
Did an article. Let me ask you, because we talked about old school, new school, and how you guys are going to all these tournaments. Have you been to Augusta and covered it? Or
Been to Augusta, have not been credentialed for Augusta.
Yeah, they still don't do that.
No,
That's old school. That's what I'm talking about, old school. They probably think, when we were doing Fairways and Greens, we couldn't get credentialed. We were a serious golf
I would
show.
say, too, Augusta, the Masters is a tough one for us because you can't have phones. And our whole job is kind of on the phone.
True, yeah.
So, I don't know that we would be able to get credentialed if we really push for it. But even if we're down there, you do have access to the media center. But even if you're credentialed media, you have to go out without a phone and then go back to the media center. And that doesn't really work for us. We're on Twitter. We're trying to react to things in real time. And we really can't do that. Even when we go to the, PGA or U.S. Open, which those organizations welcome us with open arms, but they largely do it because they have 1 week a year to make all their revenue for the whole year. So they need people like us to amplify everything. But even if we go out on course and how you can't get service sometimes, there's too many people. And it's even then we'll just go stay in the media center because if we can't get stuff out instantly, that's kind of our whole gig. That's what we do. So the Masters is a tricky one. We don't usually go. Frankie and I went down for a couple days this year, and it was actually very beneficial, but all off camera and off, not public stuff, just like networking, if you will, which is just everybody's there, everybody wants to hang out, and so I don't know that we'll ever get a ton out of Augusta. They did have the Dude Perfect video, which was wild, of them hitting lacrosse sticks and soccer balls at Amen Corner.
Bryson.
With Bryson, yeah. So
all things.
So maybe someday, but yeah, Masters we don't. We're not particularly in a great spot to be.
And this is a business question because Barstool is huge. Portnoy is never there. I think he's living in Florida now. All his pizza things are from all over the country. He's never stuck in the studio. And you guys travel so much. Do you guys just do what you want? Do you just say, okay, we're going this week, or do you have to get everything approved? Hey, we want to travel to Ohio this week for the tournament. We want to travel here. Do you have to get that approved, or you just go do what you want and then send in an expense report?
If you get to a certain point, they'll kind of let you do what you want. Dave's very open about preferential treatment. If you make the company a good amount of money, you have a lot more, you have a much longer leash. And, if you don't, then it's pretty tight. You have to get things approved. So, early on, I'm employee number 19. So when I started, we didn't have HR, people would send in complaints about HR. We would just they would go to me. So, I'd be like, oh yeah, well, so it was different. The first video I ever filmed, I went over to London for Brexit when they were having the vote, and did a man in the street video and a USA onesie and interviewed people. And I remember Dave emailed me and was just whatever the total was, just tell me the total and we'll just write you a check. So great. So I legit was it was $1,300 with flights and my costume and all that. And he just sent me a check for $13. So that was the process at that point. Things have changed a lot.
It's amazing to me that was only 6 years ago.
Is that
how
crazy,
much
Tom?
Yeah, man, for real.
Yeah, because at the time, Barstool, Dave sold the majority of Barstool in early 2016 or late 2015 for an evaluation of 10 to 15 million, and we got bought 2 years ago for $500 million. So that was 2 years ago. So it's been wild. I've been there kind of for that whole change. At this point now, we we pretty much can do anything, no questions asked, but that's a proven track record of 5 or 6 years that usually if the Foreplay crew needs travel, needs hotels, rental cars, whatever, that they're going to deliver a profit on that situation.
What do you think took you guys from the startup that you were in 17, I'm talking about your podcast, to what it's become? Was there a moment that you think got you guys over the top, so to speak? Or an interview?
Yeah,
there's you did on YouTube.
What's that?
Was it Kevin Kisner?
Kiz has been big. Those
how'd
types
that
of
relationship develop?
Yeah, so there's been a few moments. The Kisner relationship is as simple as his boys from back home in Aiken, South Carolina. They were huge, Barstool fans. and they would just DM us and email us, which, you know, we read a decent amount of that stuff, especially if you start to see it in bunches, you know, any one random message. But we just started to see a ton of messages like, hey, our boy Kevin Kisner, we play golf with him. He's right up your alley. You would love him. So eventually we were like, yeah, let's have him on the show. He came on and was just immediately a massive hit. You know, I had gotten his number to get him on, and he texted me a couple days later. They were having the Northern Trust, I think it was at the time, in New York area, so Northeast. We're big in Northeast. And he was like, I have a massive crowd in my practice round on Tuesday. Like, what's going on here? And I was like, yeah, we got a pretty good following. And so he loved that. And he gets it. You know, he's like probably one of 2 or 3 guys on tour, I would say, that I'm not a fan of at this point. He's like my friend. You know, so it's a different kind of level. But yeah, at the time, you know, he's a smart guy. He's incredibly smart. I don't want to say misleads, but he plays up the fact that he's just kind of a hillbilly from, you know, South Carolina. He's an incredibly sharp guy. So there's always a little bit of a calculation I think guys have when they come on our show, because they're going to win over usually, you know, a lot of people and a lot of our fans. And he clearly understood that and was like, wow, these guys are pretty powerful. And so that kind of catapults us to a degree, in that, you know, we make, when you tune into a leaderboard on the PGA Tour, it's generally the same country club white guy, you know, with a pretty similar name and pretty similar look, playing against, you know, 100 other guys. And so everybody's kind of looking for a way to distinguish and really root for certain people. And so I think through our show, people have really liked that we really allow people to get their personalities out there. We do long form interviews. And then when you do tune in and one of those guys is in the mix, it gives you a genuine rooting interest.
That's 100%.
So I think that's been a big part of it, kind of rallying behind a handful of guys that are sort of our guys, if you will. And we've just had some moments. I mean, we had time. We went out, Trent and I went out and filmed a video at like 4 a.m. in New York. There was a huge blizzard that hit New York. And we went in Times Square and just filmed a dumb video of us playing like 3 holes that we created in a blizzard. And there happened to be a Time magazine photographer there who took a picture. And it was like the front page of like Time, and on their Instagram that had like 20 million followers at the time was like, a man plays golf in Times Square in blizzard, and it was just me and Trent. And like, so stuff like that just goes crazy, you know, viral in our world. And then obviously everybody at Barstool talks about it all day of like, look at these clowns are out there. You know, we would get in fights with Dave about going and filming golf videos. So originally, you know, Iggy, to your question, like we got this approval to go down to TPC Sawgrass and film a video of us playing golf. Dave caught wind of it and basically brought us on a live radio to, you know, kill time like this, and lambasted us for it and was like, "What? You're just playing golf on a Monday? This is preposterous. Get back to work. This what?" And that stuff actually drives, you know, if relevancy is currency in our world. Amen. So if you're on radio getting, then people are like, I want to tune into what these guys are doing. So that kind of grows, and then people rally behind us, being like, no, these guys are trying to make it in golf, and so, you know, things like that. The Tiger videos, we've had 3 or 4 interactions with him every time. I mean, it gets millions and millions of views.
Interviews, right?
I did an interview with him for about 2 or 3 minutes in the locker room at Shadow Creek. Right. You know, we had 90-second chat with him or something at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach.
But the 2 or 3 minute interview, that was set up because they were promoting the match, right?
Yeah, that was the day after the match, and it was just me and him one-on-one. And
so what was that like?
It was nerve-wracking.
That's what I was imagining.
I mean, it was, I had gone there I'd spent Thanksgiving in Vegas that year because that's when they were doing the match, to try to get something with Tiger. And, you know, we were kind of all around him, you know, talking to his guy and his caddy. Joe LaCava's a good buddy of ours, and he's the nicest human being in the world. And he knows how much it would mean to us to get some stuff with Tiger. But it's Tiger Woods. Like, his time is maybe the most valuable of anybody in sports, and he's very private and tries to be and all that. So we went there, and it was me and my producer, Jake, and we were just around, just trying to, like, get the call. And then if Tiger won, you know, the match, he'd probably be more likely to do something afterwards, but he lost, and he was tired, so he just went to bed. And then I got a call from my guy at, like, 6 a.m. That was like, hey, they're doing a post-match pro-am at Shadow Creek this morning. I got a plan. I don't know if it's going to work out, but there's going to be no cameras allowed, so it's just going to be a phone, and you're not going to be able to, like, have a computer or anything. You're just going to have to, like, know what to ask him. And I'm like, great. And so he's like, and I only have, like, credentials for one person, so you don't have a producer. I'm like, all right. He's like, so we go stand in the locker room, and it's like Phil's holding court for all the VIPs. Tiger's just sitting there pretty quietly sipping a coffee. And eventually my boy was like, here's how I think it's going to work. They're going to call everybody out to take pictures on the practice tee. Tiger will be the last person out of the room. He always is. He'll wait for everybody to clear, and then he'll kind of slowly cruise up with his small crew. And when that happens, it'll just be us in the locker room. I'm going to keep you in here. I'm going to grab him and ask him if he's cool to do a couple minutes with you. I think he'll say yes. That's your window. You'll hand me your phone. I'll film it, and then it's over. And I was like, wow. Wow. So sure enough, 20 minutes later or so, they make the call. Whole room clears out. It's just me, Tiger Woods, Joe LaCava, and like one of Tiger's guys. And I'm like, this is really awkward. I'm super nervous, and I'm like, do I know what I want to ask? Because like, if I freeze up, it'll be the most, iconic, infamous moment in like our history. Of like,
I had fun with that one.
Riggs blew it. I'm like, and so that was exactly what happened. And Tiger rolls over. I meet him. I'm like shaking. I'm like, hello, whatever. And then Joe LaCava jumped in and kind of poked his head between me and Tiger and was like, you got this, Riggs. I love it. And that kind of like,
Oh, yeah. Caddy.
made everything comfortable. And then that was exactly what happened. We cranked it out. We did like 2-3 minutes. I asked him a handful of questions. And then afterwards, I looked at my phone and like played it back. I was like, oh my God, it's real. Sent it to my producer. And then that was it. So it's, little stuff like that people, it really helps grow us where they're like, oh my God, Riggs got 2 minutes with Tiger. Even though it's dumb, the questions he didn't say anything.
Still got 2 minutes with Tiger.
Exactly.
It's credibility. It gets
Exactly.
people talking because he doesn't do many of those.
No,
Plowhawk,
no.
you have something for Riggs here?
Yeah,
brother?
obviously you talk about being starstruck. Obviously, guys like Tiger and Phil, you watch golf plenty, you fans of them. Are you ever surprised about the access that you and your boys get? I mean, I know when you started this thing, I'm sure that you wanted it to lead up to, walking on the fairway with Tiger and things like that. Are you ever surprised with the access that, golf course and give you, PGA gives you, players, any of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially at the majors because, growing up, it's like those 4 weeks a year as a golf fan.
All it is, man.
I mean, God, it's like you watch live from coverage all night. You watch Brandel get into it with these guys and Duvall and break down every single shot. And you're a month out, like Golf Digest would release like the full course tour of, like Wingfoot in 06. And I remember being like, they have a 300-yard par 3. I think that was like an Oakmont. Like you'd be so hyped up for the majors. And now here we are inside the ropes, can basically hug guys like while they're warming up for majors. And you think a lot like, are we supposed to be here? And then you think, what are we supposed to do with this? Right? You realize that everyone else that has one is doing the same thing. They're kind of walking around like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, what am I going to get? What's interesting? How can I write a story out of this or that? So yeah, it's weird. And then also at the same time, I would say it's, we feel like an obligation, right? Like we have this really cool job, this really cool opportunity. We have a big audience that tunes in and relies on us. So we have this obligation with this access, this credential, this audience, this platform to like, deliver something that's going to be entertaining to them, that's going to be worth it for them. They probably maybe told their buddy or their dad, you got to tune in, these guys are great. And like I always think of that scenario and I want to like justify and vindicate that person for telling a friend to listen to us. So it's like there's always kind of an obligation to do what you can with this insane opportunity, and then also a feeling of like I'm not supposed to be here. So it's like I think people probably feel that way in life in general of like, yeah, everything's great, I'm doing it, and then also like, what am I doing here? So yeah, it's always kind of a weird dichotomy thinking about those two things at the same time. And you don't, you show up like we have no plan, right? People will always be like, what's your content plan for the week? We're like, we don't have it.
That's pretty good though. That makes it a little better. Though.
Yeah, we're like,
landscape.
we're just gonna be there, and like something's gonna happen.
Something's going to happen.
Yeah, and at the PGA, like when we were walking up the fairway with Tiger, like that happened an hour into us arriving for the week. So we almost were like, let's just get flights out of here. Like it's over. I mean, we did it. Nothing's gonna top it. Like we were even saying, we chatted with Joey and Tiger a little bit later. We were like, just don't even film it. Like nothing's gonna. Let's just like talk to people and be, like nothing's gonna meet or top that video. It's over. But we again went there with literally, zero plan. So yeah, it's kind of tricky. I would say the golf course thing too is like, the exposure that most courses get, especially public courses, they're always going to welcome us because it doesn't really cost them anything to have people tee off. And they're going to get exposure. People are going to want to go play there because we went there. We're going to showcase cool things about it. So most places welcome us with open arms. So, you go from like taking, sitting at your desk Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, texting the boys about the match you're about to have for the weekend, taking course flyovers, trying to come up with your course strategy to like now these courses are begging us to come. It's very weird being on the other side of it. So So yeah, again, it's kind of a combination of both feelings.
We got to do a couple of things. We'll take what essentially is a break, but we'll have the Bertarelli Cutlery Cuts of the week. So let's do that. It'll give us a time to break. I want to come back. We got a bunch of stuff. Got a million texts here as Riggs is in studio with us. And I certainly want to talk about the Live Golf thing. I don't know if you could do it, but I do another show on 101 ESPN at 10 o'clock, and maybe we can talk about that for 15 minutes there down the hall, if that's cool.
Yeah, I can do that.
That way we can do that and talk about, carry over that topic. And Iggy, I know you have some other things. And Doug, my God, you're in cut corner. And
Yeah, you are. His
haven't
mic doesn't even
even
work out
participated.
there.
His mic isn't working? Is the
works
mic
out,
working?
man.
Test.
Hello, London.
There it is. It
Mayday,
is
mayday.
working. It is working.
It's not even plugged in.
Bertarelli Cutlery Cuts of the week, and then Riggs will go down the hallway with me for a balloon party for 15 minutes, and we'll talk over the Live Golf thing coming up there at 101 ESPN. Here are the Bertarelli Cutlery Cuts of the week.
Cuts of the week are brought to you by Bertarelli Cutlery. Visit them on the Hill or online at bertarellico.com. Cut
1.
For TV, movie, whatever actresses, it's been a long time, and I've seen a lot of nudity in movies, Doug.
Yeah, I know. You talk about it frequently.
TV shows. The first time she took her top off,
Oh, yeah.
I said, "Wow."
Oh, did you say that?
It's been a,
I don't know.
Clip it off.
it's been a while since I've said "wow" to anybody in a movie.
It's so
Well, you're hard to
early.
please.
Yeah, she's
Very high standards.
She's fantastic, and a very good actress too. She got a lot of nice pub from that series.
What did she do last night on the MTV Movie Awards? I didn't get a chance to see it, Doug. I know Vanessa Hudgens was hosting, and that
Really?
nearly got me.
It's the last time she did anything.
Man, that show has really seen its better days, I think. I turned it on for a minute, and I was just not interested.
Oh, is that right?
I just didn't care.
Well, the
But
Cardinals
Sydney
were
Sweeney did something.
People were just going nuts because she wore like the low-rise skirt that was popular in the mid-2000s.
Are we still fascinated with beautiful women? Haven't we seen
Well,
enough
yeah.
of that? We
Yeah, that-
I think I just
Doug, I
answered
mean,
it.
how many drops can we get in one?
That's a take.
5 minutes.
That is a
I
take.
think I just answered that question.
I understand there are beautiful. She's absolutely beautiful and stunning. We get it, but
Yeah.
like, it shouldn't deter you from like your evening. Like, it shouldn't just like be articles and tweets about it. It's a beautiful gal in a nice skimpy outfit, I guess.
So were people complimentary or were they critical?
Complimentary.
Okay.
I think, when they should be, because she's a very beautiful woman.
cut
2.
Between the fan page and the listeners, there's probably 500,000
I remember that.
part of the show.
500,000?
Yeah, 7,000 on the fan
500,000
page, and then probably
listeners?
493,000
Yep, 500,000 I think is the number.
listening.
You've got to be kidding me.
Honestly,
There's only 3 million.
Just
in the
letting
whole
Iggy and
area.
Jackson wax poetic here.
500,000?
Yeah, close. So
You
anyway,
listen to
I'm
this show. 500,000
yeah,
people.
even if half of them download the app, we're way ahead.
There's 250,000.
That's all we need.
That's
so
a big number.
I think
Seriously.
corporate would be very happy with
seriously, it doesn't
I
take
think we'll
long.
be moving to LA.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. Just get in there, just go to the rewards, like Jackson said.
So an easier way to do it is if you just hit the profile.
Jackson and I were texting this morning. I said, Jackson, do you have copy for this? No, he didn't. I go, okay. Well, can you handle it? Yeah, I can.
So you head.
Maybe I'll get copy after the show.
So you head to in the top right there'll be where your profile is.
Right.
Mine says Jackson Burkett right there. Join 12/30/21, and then right in the right hand side it has the graphic with the TMA at Madness. My next reward. You just click on that.
And what if
Real
they
easy.
haven't- What if they haven't set up a profile though?
Set up a damn profile. What are we waiting for?
Yeah, how do they? They just go to the app and it'll say profile.
You click that same button I just said, and then it'll probably be blank, and it said sign up, and you sign up.
Since we have 500,000 listeners.
That's correct.
Is anyone worried about the app crashing?
Nah.
No,
We're good on the back end.
Okay.
So that's it. We need to beat the Riz show. Well, we need to beat everybody actually,
Yeah.
but the Riz wins every year. So let's just show the Riz show that hey, we're the new kids on the block, but we got listeners.
Lots of them,
I need to
apparently.
write that one down.
Stephen Wildwood says the promo code's not working. Thanks, Steve Wildwood.
Oh, no.
Did you spell it right?
The worst has happened. The promo code
There's
is
nowhere to type in
Davenport.
Davenport. That comes from a big.
Oh, man. A big.
cut
3.
We know it's real, but so when you did it, did you have an emotional connection? Like, were you emotionally involved with the girl?
She was talking during that whole thing.
This interview is not going that well. There's too long pauses between when people talk. Are you still there? Quicker!
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay,
sorry.
quicker!
My bad.
It's only a 3-hour show.
I was excited with what she was talking about, and I accidentally hit mute. But
We expected more out of this
totally
call.
my bad. Here we go. She can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay.
So what I'm
My
what I'm
God.
trying to gauge is how many women Allie has been with, and then how many times with those women, what percentage of women she is engaged in tribbing. That's what I'm trying to get.
Okay, got it. 3 women.
Okay.
One of them about 5 times.
But you didn't trib with the other 2. Quicker!
Experiences are pretty similar. But there's an emotional connection, and it's a fun time, as anything would be. It's just one position out of many.
So scissoring is your jam?
Yeah, perfect word choice.
Cut.
I'll leave it at the 4.
I think I got a belly
Looking
button.
into it right now. I don't remember getting an email.
What do you mean?
I get a lot of emails.
You got a belly button issue? What are you? Why are you picking at it?
Your belly button,
What are you doing to it?
Bro, so
What are you picking
like,
at it for?
on Sunday I went to the Black River out there in Annapolis.
Oh, ticks.
Oh,
And I got
Oh, TikTok.
a leech get in there?
And let me tell you, it took Iggy, I thought it was a scab. It took 2 full days for me to realize that it was a tick in my belly button.
Just burn that off.
Really?
And so I pulled it out last
So
week.
you really did have a tick in there?
I did, and so I pulled it out last week and, disposed of it down the sink. But, dude, it's painful. It's itchy. I think the head is still in there.
Still eating.
I think it's still nibbling on the. It is very uncomfortable. And now my bottom belly button is super tight.
How many belly buttons you got, bro?
You're only supposed to have one.
So like that, it's so tight right there that I know there's something in there.
Oh,
So I may have a tapeworm or.
what'll you do about it?
I gotta go to the doctor. I don't have a preferred physician though.
Could be you could struggle with Lyme disease when you get those ticks.
Jimmy
Oh,
Walker.
no, that's the last thing we need.
Oh, it's uncomfortable. For
Oh,
sure.
does it hurt or what's the deal? Itching,
It's
scratching,
like
burning? What do you got?
Kind of tight. I would say burning.
You got a rash, bro?
There's a rash in there.
Hey, you might have Lyme disease.
He's still in there eating.
Can you spray some Raid in there or something?
Yeah, spray Raid in there.
Throw Raid into your phone. Maybe that'll do for you.
Cut.
5.
And one time I actually called August Bush out at
Doug, that's bad idea.
Grant's Farm asking for baseball tickets.
Wow.
Holy dear.
And he said, "No problem, Kenny." And then about 10 minutes later, his assistant called me and goes, "You don't ever call Mr. Bush for tickets. He has no control over tickets. He owns the team. I can't believe you called asking for tickets." I got reprimanded for that.
I share the sentiment of the assistant.
I cannot.
I don't think I got fired for that, though.
At least you always had a great sense of self-awareness. And those were the cuts of the week.
There it is, Bird Early Cutlery Cuts of the Week here on the Ryan Kelly Morning After. We have about 15 more minutes, and then Riggs is going to go down the hallway. Very kind of you. I just hit you. That's the worst thing to do, too. Guys nice enough to come in for an hour, and then I say, hey, how about another 15 minutes?
No, if I didn't want to do it, I would just say
You
no.
just say no, and I
Yeah,
respect that. I respect. How long are you in St. Louis? And then when you go back, we going back to Scottsdale? Or you got to go somewhere else.
Sunday.
Or you're probably going to the country
Boston.
club.
Yep. Sunday we'll be in Boston till Wednesday, and then we'll go to Jersey and we'll do some gambling live streams, basically promote the Barstool Sports book. So we'll do that in Hoboken Thursday through Sunday.
Nice.
How bummed are you that Tiger withdrew?
I mean, I'm bummed because obviously being there and watching the tournament, it's just so much fun watching him play golf. There's nothing else like watching Tiger play golf, in my opinion. It's my favorite thing in sports, but also I kind of expected it. I think he knows that of all the tournaments he could potentially win, the U.S. Open's the least likely.
Yeah.
And, the New England topography is not great for him. Obviously, the old course at St. Andrews is a pretty flat walk. He's won there twice by 8 shots and by 5 shots. It's his favorite course in the world. So I think he just wants to make sure he's ready to go there, which I don't mind.
Do you get a sense for, because I've got a friend of mine who's become truly a millionaire, no BS. Now, people say that, by playing daily fantasy. And and now he's running it math-wise, but sometimes when I'm around at a tournament, he'll ask me, hey, if you're talking to any caddies or any players, and I obviously have a 1/1,000,000th of the access you have, it can help with getting an idea of either where players are or conditions that favor certain players. So now we'll get into a little golf nerddom here. Do you have a sense for when somebody is either on or if somebody is off, or if you have enough knowledge to know if a course is favoring somebody that a guy you can go, okay, I think this guy's going to have a good week or this guy might have a bad week?
It's almost more, or it is more valuable to just be a data geek, right?
It is,
look
man.
at
That's all
course
it is.
conditions, look historically at a course and how that course has favored certain types of players, and then match that with players who, are near the top of the list in strokes gained approach, if it's sort of a second shot golf course. Right. And then marry that with, form, right? Like who's playing well. And the reason I say, like, everybody always says their guy's playing well, right? Like every guy on the range, every caddy's like, yeah, my guy's looking good this week. Every player has this almost delusional self-belief that they're the best player in the world and they're going to win that week. So you don't really get, it's a lot of BS, I would say, that you kind of get on site. It's hard to tell. I mean, you can also follow a guy and he'll look really good in a practice round, and much like all of us have an issue taking the range game to the course, like they don't necessarily bring their practice round game to the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I've the people that I have spoken with, dealt with, relied upon that are pretty damn good when it comes to handicapping golf, are deep in the data and course fit, and looking hardcore at, like, oh yeah, I heard this guy was nice in his press conference. That doesn't really matter. It's a lot more on like data and who's gonna be a ball strikers type golf course or whatever.
Did you see the Scheffler thing coming?
No. I read Shane Ryan's book on the Ryder Cup that he published, I think, last month in May. It's really, really good.
On
It's
Whistling Straits?
It's called like the cup they needed to win or something like that. I come up with the real name, but it is largely around, obviously, Whistling Straits in the 2021 Ryder Cup, but he does. It's almost the entire history of the Ryder Cup, and it's phenomenal. But when he sort of paints the whole reason why they picked Scottie Scheffler, because he was a captain's pick, and then him beating Rahm, 4-3, it actually makes a lot of sense, seeing like where he's coming. He had high finishes in pretty much all of the majors. He had several close calls. He had a few years, his first couple years out there, where FedEx Cup points and all that, he was high on the list. So he clearly was playing consistently enough to be one of the better players out there. He just hadn't really won or had that big breakthrough. But when you look at it that way, in hindsight, everything's 2020. But it's almost like, oh yeah, of course he was gonna pop now, winning 4 out of 6 events, one of them being the Masters. And, is outrageous. I don't think anybody. I mean, you wouldn't even expect that out of Tiger in his prime. That would have been one of his best 2 or 3 runs of all time. So no, that was unbelievable. And for it to be his first win, and then he rattles off, a handful of them.
He's a silent killer. He doesn't have the person. Tiger, you can tell, guy's a killer, but he's a silent killer. Guys you've gotten to know. And like, who is? I mean, obviously the Kisner thing is well known.
Yeah, Kiz is up there. Max Homa is obviously a big personality outside of our world. He's active. He's all over the place. He doesn't say no to anybody. Does all kinds of podcasts. So it's not like he's unique to us. Mm-hmm. But I do think he's unique in that he's as active as he is. He's as open as he is, and he's also as talented as he is. He is. I think he's going to be a top 10 player in the world.
Man. That's kind of come out of nowhere.
He's really good. He's a golf nut. He watches golf coverage all the time. He loves to talk about golf. Him and his wife are super cool. They live very close to me, so I've gone over just with the two of them before and hung out a few nights, and it always ends up with like me with a golf club in my hand and him like, all right, Riggs, you need to be here. Let's do this after like
nice to get that
2 bottles of wine.
Sure.
So he just like, that's what he wants to do, is talk and live golf, and he wants to be, really good. I've spoken with him about the live golf stuff, and he's a golf history nut. He's a legacy nut. He wants to win PGA Tour events because he grew up, a fan of golf and PGA Tour. So that's a guy that is, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how you could be, as plugged in on social and friendships, relationships, and everything, and be as good of a player as he is. But the way he says, he's like, dude, it takes me 3 seconds to tweet. He's like, it's not He's like, so if I send 100 tweets a day, even I still have a ton of time to do other stuff. It's not like it's that cumbersome. He's like, I'm sitting in the passenger seat, my wife's driving. It's like for 2 minutes, I'll just tweet about. It's not that hard. So he's a guy that's a really impressive combination of everything, I would say.
Yeah. Plowhawk, you had something for Riggs?
Yeah, you talk about, the old school golf writers, it took a little bit longer to accept you guys. And you don't have to name any names, certainly. Are there golfers that you've run into, old school or not, that aren't with the program, kind of just want to focus on golf, don't want the distractions? Or has really everybody kind of been open arms in terms of the player aspect, not the media?
You mean, are there players that don't really want to deal with?
Yeah, that you've tried to maybe get an interview or tried to, I guess, quote unquote, play ball with that aren't as receptive?
Yeah, that's, I would say, it's funny, like for years we wondered if Roy McIlroy was that way, just with us. And turns out, like, he's just so big, I don't even think he was really aware. He was just kind of so, like, we shot a video with him because we have a TaylorMade deal, so TaylorMade set it up. We shot a video with him for like an hour in November, and he was as advertised times 10. Everybody always says he's the nicest guy and he's got such great perspective, and he was just the kindest, most genuine, chatty guy. He's telling us stories, asking us questions. So he was but I would say like a John Rahm kind of sticks out. I think he just does his own thing. I don't think he's concerned about social media or us or other media like us that much at all. I think he's got a young family now and his wife, and he lives in Scottsdale, and I know people that are in his circle, but I don't think he's interested at all in sort of opening up. I don't think he cares. And then you get somebody that almost feels like he would be that mold, like Colin Morikawa. Yet I think he is pretty calculated on getting out there. He goes on Pardon My Take, which is the biggest sports podcast probably in the world, or one of them. He goes on with us, and he sort of plays that game a little bit, so he understands growing his brand. But I'd say Rahm kind of sticks out. I think Patrick Cantlay sticks out. I don't think he cares at all. I think he kind of does his own thing.
Yeah, he's just that's across the board.
Yeah.
But you guys you've cracked the Koepka nut, though, have you not?
Yeah, we had Koepka on the show. I mean, to be honest, we've been a little bit hard on Koepka, and I think he's very plugged in to what people say about him.
Yeah.
We just don't like the too cool for school thing that he does. And so we've been kind of hard on him, and because we had him on the show, and he was kind of one of our guys. And I remember when he won the PGA at Bethpage Black on Saturday, he was walking in between like the 5th and 6th hole. He walked right by me and fist pumped me like inside the ropes while he was playing. And I was like, wow. And then now I think he like doesn't like us. So we have those kinds of roller coasters with people, and we're gonna. That's sort of the nature of the game. You're going to say what you say, and people that listen to it are probably not going to like it. Billy Horschel's a great example. We just had him on the show. I mean, we've been really hard on Billy Horschel. We've called him a psychopath. We've said, like, I actually think I wrote like F Billy Horschel in a few blogs, not meaning it, but like playing up the joke that we don't like him. And he came on the show, and the first thing he said, he's like, "This is going to be very interesting."
Oh man!
And we were like, "Why didn't you say that?" And he's like, "Because you guys have said some very interesting things about me." And we were, right away, we kind of iggy'd ourselves. And we're like, no, we're friends.
No, wait a minute.
Hold on, he was just.
I never said F these guys.
At the end of the day, like, how many people are you really going to meet that you chat with that you're going to be like, that guy is a mean, terrible person? Usually, if you chat with somebody, establish a relationship, you're going to like them. So yeah, I mean, you kind of end up in those situations. But yeah, I think a couple like Patrick Cantlay stands out as a guy that doesn't really plug in at all, doesn't care. Rob, same type of way. And then you get the other end of it where you get Max, you get, people that are pretty tuned into what everybody's saying. And, I think Bryson listens to everything and sees everything. I mean, he sent me messages before of being upset, and I don't even know what he's talking about because he is like listening deep into some podcast, and I'm like, I don't know what we say. Did we talk for 2 hours? We hit stop. We're like, see you later, boys. I don't know. Like, what did I say? I don't know. So
what about P. Reed?
P. Reed, I think, is actually wildly misunderstood.
So you know him? Have you met him? Have you interacted with him?
Yeah, he's always been super nice to us.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he's actually very personable. I've heard really good stories about him behind the scenes. I think I don't know his wife, but I think that more of the public issues stem from her relationship with the media and the public than from his. I think he would love to be Patrick Cantlay-esque, where he's a golf nut.
Right.
He loves to practice golf. He loves to play golf. That's all he wants to do is win golf tournaments. I don't think he even pays attention to a lot of the other stuff. I don't think he's even aware of a lot of it.
Is he aware of the Used Golf Facts account?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't even know what you're talking about.
That is so
like that's kind of how he comes off. Now, the cheating stuff, I do think he's very loose with the rules, and that rubs a lot of people the wrong way, as it should. But in terms of personality, I actually think people like him that are in the circle, on tour, inside the ropes, whatever, a lot more than is led on publicly.
We don't have a lot of time.
I know. Iggy, I want to let you be able to wrap it up here.
One quick question. It's not a creep question because I really enjoy her work.
Uh-oh.
Have you gotten to know Amanda Balionis/Renner at all?
Here we go.
Because I think she's been on our show before, I think she's kind of like you, that she doesn't get to an interview and go, "You got to go back to the 18th hole." She's just giddy talking to the players and really happy they won. And she kind of reminds me of you guys. Have you gotten to know her at all?
Yeah. She's great. She's super sweet. I think she does a great job. And I think that's kind of her job, is to she's supposed to mix in some of that giddiness with the questions. I don't think she's asking people about their, after they won or finished up a round, she's not asking them like their geopolitical stance on, Saudi Arabia. Like, I think she's like, wow, your family's here. That's incredible. And it's excitement. And it's supposed to promote.
It's different than like a Maltby would do. I mean, he's breaking down a certain hole. She's just happy.
Yeah,
She's
I think
no
that's
Dottie
right.
Pepper, though. I love Dottie Pepper.
Yeah, Dottie's excellent.
God,
there you go. But yeah, I mean, the two of them are different. And I don't think Amanda has like a deep golf background, so I think that she probably keeps it pretty surface level, which I think she does a phenomenal job.
I like what she does.
Yeah, she's great. She's spunky. She's excited, which again you should be excited if you love what you're doing. It's great.
No, we could have gone on for hours with you. Not that you necessarily want to do that, but the hour's already over, and I got to go down the hallway, and you're kind enough to join me. We'll talk the live golf thing. I have no idea where you are on this, so I'm anxious to hear.
I don't know where I'm at on it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I am. I thought the thing was going to be a dumpster fire, and then
Rory called it dead in the water a few months ago.
And now yesterday they had a really good day. Great conversation, man. Super cool of you to come in here.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me.
I mean, it's been wonderful. I'm looking forward to talking to you on 101 ESPN about the live golf thing. Iggy, anything you would like to say here as you've gotten a
Great
chance
time,
now to,
Iggy.
Well,
to
go
read
ahead.
to
I
me.
mean, I'll just say this: all the texters, and it'll be on the fan page. Iggy just backtracks. I'm not backtracking.
It is. It's already
I
there.
said that if I met the guy, I'm sure he's a great guy, and he is a great guy. I still might take a shot here or there. I'm like,
fair.
Pull a boner here.
Business is business.
But great,
Business is
great guy.
business.
I'm glad we got to meet him, and you guys are doing a fabulous job.
Thank you, Iggy. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
We didn't have